Okay. Good morning. We're going to stay in the main room. We'll have to finish by 9:45 because I can't record otherwise. So we are live on YouTube now. So let's get started. We'll go quickly, and it will be out. So we're at the top of Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, and the Gemara was discussing that yesterday we had a shaila where a fellow. We're going to stay in the main room. We'll have to finish by 9:45 because I can't record otherwise. We are live on YouTube. Okay. One second. So we're at the top of Daf Lamed Zayin.
I'm a base actually.
That's right. Okay. Let's. I shut off the noise. Okay. Now start. Let's take this from the top. Okay, beautiful. Okay, here we go. So we had yesterday that Rabbi Yosy was part of the group of Noim who held that if you bought a barrel of wine from an Amoritz and it was Tevel and you needed to take Meiser from it and it's on Shabbos and you don't have a Keli to pour over some of the wine for the Truman, for the Meiser, what you can say is that tomorrow I'll scoop out wine. That wine is currently in this barrel. I want that wine, whatever wine I'm going to scoop out tomorrow, I want that wine to be Truma right now. That was Breyer. And Reb Meir held you could do it. It was a question between Ayai and Artana, what Reb Yehuda held, but Reb Yosy and Reb Shimon for sure held you couldn't do that because they don't hold of Breyer. So frankly, Reb Yosy does not hold of Breyer. But Tanya, we learned, and Amoritz tells a chaver, a Talmud Chacham, oh, you go into no frills? Can you do me a favor? What are you buying there? Oh, I'm buying a bundle of onions. Oh, you're buying a bundle of onions? Can you do me a favor? Could you buy me a bundle of onions as well? So now the chaver goes and he buys 2 bundles of onions, and when he finishes shopping, he goes to the Amoritz's house. He says, here's your bundle of onions. So the question is, now it's the chaver sort of giving or selling a bundle of onions to the Amoritz. And the chaver is not allowed to release anything from his possession without being mafresh Trumas and Maisris. Does the chaver have to be mafresh Trumas and Maisris? Zok the Gemara, ein tzorich la'aser, the chaver does not have to be mafresh Trumas and Maisris. The chaver does not have to be mafresh Trumas and Maisris. Divrei Rabbi Yosy. That is the svara of Rabbi Yosy. Now, why is that? Because Rabbi Yosy must hold a brera. And you say, when I originally purchased the 2 sets of onions, one onion I never purchased for myself. One set of onions was always purchased directly for the Amoritz. And when even though I didn't pay attention which bundle was which, but whichever bundle I ended up giving to the Amoritz, through Brera, you say that was the bag of onions that I had bought originally for the Amoritz. So meaning it never went through my rishus. I didn't buy both and then sell one to him. The one I gave him originally was purchased directly for him, and therefore the chaver had no involvement, and therefore the chaver does not have to take off from his Amorits. So you see Rabbi Yosy old Yesh Brera. So if Rabbi Yosy here says Yesh Brera, why by the case of the wine did Rabbi Yosy say Ein Brera? You cannot take off. You cannot say that 2 lugan in this barrel that I'll eventually separate by putting it into a separate jug. It's truma now. Yeah, you know what? We'll have to switch it around. We'll have to do a switcheroo. And we'll say Rabbi Yosy holds tzarech laser and the Chum holds tzarech laser. So one brisa now, in order so that it shouldn't contradict the sheet of Rabbi Yosy by the barrel, we're switching it around. Tashma, we're going to ask you from another kasha on Rabbi Yosy. I have a full pocket of change, of sloim. And I say the meiser that I have in my house should be nifta, and it should go on one of the coins in my pocket. Which coin? When I'm ready to actually set it aside, the coin that I take, that's the coin that I want the Maisha to be Chalal. Again, that relies on Breira. Rabbi Yosy Mechulo. Rabbi Yosy also works. So it's another brayso that contradicts what we said before from Yosy. So again, Epoch. So now, you have two braysos that indicate that Rabbi Yosy holds Yesh Breira, and you have one brayso with a line that indicates Rabbi Yosy doesn't hold a Breira. Why would you switch around two braysos to accommodate the one brayso? Why don't you just switch to one brayso to accommodate the two braysos? So Gemara, Enu Rabbi Yosy Emer Lo Chila. For Gemara, my chazos the apchas tarti b'kamachada, epu chadim b'kamatarti. So Gemara, no, havad ipcha, because the last brayso we quoted with the Ma'aseh Mechul, there we know for sure that it was quoted wrong because of an additional comment that Rabbi Yosy made there. He clearly revealed that he holds ein breira. Why? Because havad ipcha tani the katani seifa umoid Rabbi Yosy. Rabbi Yosy agrees that it would be a good chilul of meiser. But Eimer meiser sheyesh shli b'seich bezi yemechula al salach hadosha shetala b'yadei min akis. And if he said that, shechila. Let's say he only had one brand new coin in his pocket. He only had one, and so Rabbi Yosy, if I said that the meiser that I have at home should be mechula on the single coin that I have in my pocket, there it's mechula. Well, there it's not breira. There right away he's identifying which coin the kedusha is going on. Since Rabbi Yosy said shechilel, in this case it's good only in a case where it was clear at the time of his proclamation that this is the coin that's going to be redeeming the Ma'aseh Sheni. That would indicate that if it was just a whole pocket full of coins, that he's only going to verify which coin it is later. There, Rabbi Yosy would hold loy chilel, and that is why we decided to change the two braysos for the one brayso, because one of the two braysos that we're changing, we have another indication, in fact, that Rabbi Yosy holds ein breira. So now the Gemara wants to drill down. Hi Salach Hadasha. Let's go back to see what Rabbi Yosy said. Rabbi Yosy said, "Umoy Rabbi Yosy b'omer ma'aser sheyesh li b'tech beisi yemechul al Salach Hadasha shetala b'yadim v'nakis." The new coin that I'm going to take out of my pocket. Frank to go hechedami. The ikitati class, the yesh breira. If there's 3 brand new coins, there's not only one, so we need to verify which of the 3 coins he's referring to. So that's what she's telling the kiss. The one that I pick, that's the one that I want to be machal the ma'aser on. That's again the case of prayer. So what distinction is Rabbi Yosy making with this new case? Ella the leka elachada must be he only had one such new coin in his pocket. For the more my tala. What does it mean to tala in a kiss? Even before I take it out of my pocket, since it's the only coin that fits the description, it should become mechul immediately. Zok Gemara, you're right. It doesn't need to say tala. But I did the Tana Reisha tala, since it used the word tala in the Reisha. We were dealing with multiple coins. Tana Seifa Nami tala. The Seifa also says tala, but it's lavdaf. Amalei Rav Nachman. Manai Tana that fidu with derbanan less lebreira. Who is the Tana that even by derbanan holds no breira? What's derbanan? Eruvin is derbanan. Even by Eruvin, there's no breira. The Tanya Amalei Chamisha. If you told 5 people ask you to make a nair for them. You have enough food to make a nair for one of the 5 people. And you tell them, I will decide later who I'm making the air for. But it's going to be for one of you. And 4 of you are going to be left out. The person who I want to make the air for, he can extend his range. The person who I did not have in mind, or the 4 people I didn't have in mind, they won't be able to extend their range. So the halach is if I determined which one of these 5 people I'm making my erev for, while it's still day, then they ruve erev. Then it's a good erev. At night it's not an erev. So you see, you don't hold a breira. I can't retroactively Friday night determine who I meant to make the erev for before Shabbos. I had to have determined that already with clarity before Shabbos. Clearly, this brisa says that you don't say breira for Eruvin. Zok Gemara Ishtik. Rav Nachman didn't have anyone to blame this on, to say is the time of this brisa. He didn't respond. Why didn't he quote Ayoy? Ayoy argues with our Mishnah and says that according to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't say Breyer by Eruvin. So why didn't he offer that up? So to Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan might not have heard about Ayah. Zok to Gemara weiter. Rabbi Yosef Omar, Tanai Shaklos Me'alma? I don't understand. There's no Tanaim. You removed all the Tanaim from the world. There's so many places where you can illustrate a Tana who holds that by Eruvin you don't say Breyer. And I'm going to give you an example. Tanai, it's a machlekes Tanai. The Tanya Areni Ma'arav Shabbos. If someone says I'm making an error for Shabbos, so I'm going to use this one bit of food. I'm going to leave it there for a long time, and it'll be the money that I'm going to use. It'll be the error that I'm going to use for a whole year. And every week I'm going to decide. So the Allah is written by Joim if on any given week he decided before Shabbos that this week I want my Erev to activate Eruv Erev. But if I only decided Friday night that I want to activate my Erev, it's too late. I'm sorry, Rabbi Shimon says it is a good Erev. So here you have a machlekes Tanaim if you could say Breyer by Erev. Beautiful. That's our Makar. But we have a problem because in this case, Rabbi Shimon said Eruv Erev, you do say Breyer. The problem is, if we go back to the case of the barrel of wine, where I said the two lugim that I'm going to separate tomorrow should be truma today, there Rabbi Shimon said it doesn't work. So here by Erev he says Breyer does work, yet by truma he said it doesn't work. Vashmin Rabbi Shimon the last Breyer, Kasher Rabbi Shimon, is it a Stephen Rabbi Shimon? No, you'll have to swap it around and say Rabbi Shimon doesn't say over here Eruv Erev, he says Ein Eruv Erev, and it's the Chachamim who says Eruv Erev. That's one way to answer that kasha. So my kasha, I don't understand why would you have to say that. Maybe you could make a distinction. Dilma Kilas to Reb Shimon Breira. Where did Reb Shimon say it doesn't work? That was by being mafresh trumas and maishus, where it's tevel midaraisa. Midaraisa, there he doesn't hold a Breira. Albo b'drabanan, when you talk about Erev Tchumen, the holding is Rabbanan, maybe Islay Breira, maybe Reb Shimon would hold a Breira. Rabbi Yosef argues, because Rabbi Yosef, man, the Islay Breira, loishna b'daraisa, loishna b'drabanan. Isla, if you hold a Breira, you'll hold it both by the Raisa and both by the Rabbanan. Manda last way Breira, if you don't hold a Breira, loishna by the Raisa, loishna by the Rabbanan last way. So therefore, Rabbi Yosef would disagree with this distinction that we made, and therefore Rabbi Yosef would be forced to say Epoch Rabbi Shimon in our case, and you'll have to Rabbi Shimon by Eruvin also holds that the Erev is not an Erev unless you determine before Shabbos. Zok Eli Gemor Vayter. Rav Omer, Shiny also, really he holds a Breira side by the Raisa and side by the Rabbanan. If he holds a Breira, why wouldn't it work in the case of Truma? So tomorrow, Shani Hassan, the Barina and Rashis, says she already current. By Truma, there's a special halacha, Rashis Grancha. And we learn from there that upon separating it, it has to be clear and obvious what the Truma is and what the Chulun is. And since in the barrel, even though technically you could do that Breira, but it's not clearly visible until you actually separate it, and it's a separate truma de halacha that prevents the truma from working. But Breyer really works everywhere, side by the Rabbanan, side by the Raisa. Amalei Abaye, if you're going to say this chiddush that by truma you actually have to see it, well, you have two pomegranates. We'll call them PA and PB. If arranged today, yezat truma al zeh. PA should be truma and PB should become chulin. Then PB should be truma and PA should be chulin. So Hakanami, are you going to say ben yardu ben lo yardu the ein dvar klum? Are you going to say that it's not a good truma because at the time it's not clear which is the truma and which is the chulin? And if you want to say, yeah, as a matter of fact, that's exactly what I would hold, I'll prove you from a brisa otherwise. But now truma sakriya umasroisov b'soichoi. What if I had a big pile of tevel, and I say the truma of this pile should be in its core, in the core of the pile, the outer area of the pile I want to start eating now as chulin. Or what if it was a Levi who got a whole bunch of meiser, his meiser was tevel until his mafresh trumas meiser, and he did the same thing. The trumas meiser is b'soichoi, and this big pile of trumas meiser, the truma of it is inside, and the outside I'm eating now. Rabbi Shimon Omer Kar Hashem. Rabbi Shimon holds that is a good truma. There it's not distinct which is the truma, which is not. It's not completely separate. So Akimar, who said it's not distinct? It is distinct. Shiny also dikasvivov. When you're in a liquid like a barrel of wine, there's no way you can pinpoint it. Everything is fluid. But in a pile of wheat, yes, the core is distinct from the outside. Can't physically see it right now because it's covered, but it's an area that I could actually clarify. This area is going to be truma. I'm specifying that area, so therefore it won't be a problem with rashis shashir and ikar. Or you could say a different reason why by truma, why Rab Shimon by truma held you couldn't do it. Really, he holds a brayer. If he holds a brayer, why can't I say the two lugam that I'm going to be mafresh on Sunday? Why can't I say those are truma now? Because time like the Brisa says over there, Reb Meir, the people who argued with Reb Meir and said that you cannot do this. Reb Meir said you could do this truma. They said you can't. They told him, Iyat and Moida, Shemi Yibaka, Noid. What if the jug, what if the barrel breaks? And now you never get to be mafresh those two lugan of truma. Because it broke, it all spilled out on Shabbos. Come to Chosh, when this guy drank the wine that he thought was Masukin, because he was expecting after Shabbos to separate it, he's drinking now tevel. That's a big problem. Wouldn't you be worried about that? So the Tanoim who argued with Meir answered, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to be goyzer because of that. If it happens, we'll deal with it at that point. So Gemara might just make her to be in the Reish Shashir and the Karen, according to the way we were learning before. That's the reason why Rab Shimon holds you cannot do the truma there. Is just because it's Shir and the Karen, my kamerle. So what were they talking to him about Yibak HaNoy? So Havi kamerle. Lididon, according to our Shita, who argued with Meir, but in Reish Shashir and the Karen, it's tamazai not a good truma. But Lidach, even according to you, who hold that you don't need Shir and the Karen and you hold a Breira, you should still answer it al Tagzera, Shami Yibak HaNoy, the Nim to shows it Tveil Mafreya. I'm not worried about it. Zok Elig Mishnah Vayter. Or Eliezer Yom Tov Asamach l'Shabbos. Yom Tov that's near Shabbos. Bein Milafana, Bein Milacharel. Side before Shabbos. Side after Shabbos. So if Yom Tov comes out on Friday, or if Yom Tov comes out on Sunday, either way, now you have 2 days that you need an Erev for. You need it for, let's say Yom Tov's on Friday. You need the Erev for Friday, and you need the Erev for Shabbos. So the halacha is, a person could make 2 Eruvin. The Omer, and he could say, Eruvin v'Rishon l'Mizrach. On Friday, which is Yom Tov, I want to head to the east. Uvisheni, and on for Shabbos, he might say l'Ma'ariv. He could put an Erev on the west side, and he could say, on Shabbos, I want to go to the west. He could say Rishon l'Ma'ariv, Uvisheni l'Mizrach. He could do that as well. He could do the opposite. Or Eruvin v'Rishon, Uvisheni k'vnei Yirei. He says, I only want my Erev for Yom Tov, for the first day. But for Shabbos, I want to remain at home. Or he could say, Eruvin v'Sheni v'Rishon k'vnei Yirei. I only want my Erev to be for Shabbos, but Yom Tov on Friday, I want to stay home. That's what the Tanakh holds. I'm sorry, that's what the Rabbi Eliezer holds. The Chacham say no, you can't separate the 2 days from each other. Either both days are on the same side, or don't make an Erev at all. You can't split it. Either you make an Erev for both days, because again, we say both days are 1 day, or so how do you do this? You take the Erev Thursday afternoon. Now, if you're taking it yourself, you don't need an Erev. You're there. It means you send it with a shliach Thursday afternoon, and he could sit there until it becomes night, and therefore he passed through the whole Bnei Moshe period. And then he could take the food, and he can go back home with the food. You don't have to leave the food there. Once it was there, Bnei Moshe did its job. B'Sheni, then he's going to go back on Friday afternoon. Wait till it gets dark. Now he cannot take the food back home anymore because he's not allowed to carry on Shabbos. But he can eat the food right then and there. And he goes home. He has an Erev for 2 days, and he was able to travel both days. He's able to travel both days, and he even got to eat his Erev. He literally had his cake and ate it too. What happens if Friday afternoon somebody ate up the Erev? So now Eruv L'Rishon, his Erev works for day 1. They Eruv L'Sheni, because by the Beit Shmoshes of Friday afternoon there was nothing left. Amar Rabbi Eliezer told the Chachamim, Moedim atem li shein shtei kedushas. You just admitted that if the Erev got eaten up on on Friday, then the Erev is only good for Friday, not for Shabbos. So you're moeded to me that it's 2 separate Erevin. Because if it's 1 Erev, even if it was eaten up on Friday, that 1 Erev should have taken care of both days. So you agree to me it's 2 Erevin, that if it gets eaten up on Friday, you cannot use it for Shabbos. Why can't you split the Erevin like me completely? So the Gemara is going to answer that the Chachamim who are arguing in Belezer have a suffix. and they go l'chumra. They're not sure if it's one Eruvin or two Eruvin. Because of that, they go l'chumra. Zok tehelu gemor vayter. L'ruach achas. If you look at the Chachamim, they were almost repeating themselves. Because what the Chachamim said was, Oy ma'ar v'ruach achas, which means it's one Eruv for both days. Oy einim ma'ar v'likr. Oy ma'ar v'shnei yomim einim ma'ar v'likr. Meaning it's also 2 days. So why did they repeat their halacha twice? And for the Gemara, the first comment is halacha. The second comment is an argument to try to convince Rabbi Eliezer that they're right. Zok the Gemara, l'ruach achas ma'niu l'shnei yomim. L'shnei yomim ma'niu l'ruach achas. So Hanukkah Maisa, it's the same comment mentioned twice. So the Gemara, it's an argument. Harik Ramal Rabban Rabbi Eliezer. The Rabban were trying to prove their point to Rabbi Eliezer. The Rabban told Rabbi Eliezer, would you not agree? You would agree to me that you cannot split a day. You can't say Friday night I want to go to the north and Shabbos day I want to go to the south. So Rabbi Eliezer agreed, you're right, I can't split a day. So the Rabban said, the same way you tell me you can't split one day, Dr. Rabbanan, we hold you can't even split 2 days. Rabbi Eliezer said, no, it's not a raya. One Shabbos is one Kedusha. But Hacha based Kedusha, it's 2 separate days. So of course you should be able to split it. That was the proof that the Rabbanan tried to bring and Rabbi Eliezer refuted. Now Rabbi Eliezer comes back on the attack and he tries to convince the Chachamim. If you actually walk yourself to the place where you wanted to be Kohen Shvisa on day one, you actually have to walk back here the second day. Or you're also moided to me the Nechel Eruvin b'Yom Rishon. If the Eruv got eaten on Friday afternoon, you can't rely on it for Shabbos. The Chum said, yeah, we agreed to that. Zok Gemara, so halai basically Kedusha. So you're admitting to me that it's 2 separate Kedushas. You needed 2 separate Eruvin, and if it got eaten up, it wouldn't work for the second day. If it's one big Eruv, it should have worked. So Gemara, Verabbanan Sfukim Esafkaluhu. The Rabbanan have a suffix, and since they have a suffix, they're going each way l'chumra. So I want to point something out, because Eruvin is the Rabbanan. If Eruvin is the Rabbanan, how do you understand that you go hacha l'chumra, v'hacha l'chumra? Don't you say suffix the Rabbanan l'kula? So if you think about it, it's very fair. How can the Gemara say by Eruvin, you go hacha l'chumra, v'hacha l'chumra, if it's a suffix? We say suffix the Rabbanan l'kula, not l'chumra. So I want to say over something that I once heard from Aaron Levine. He should have a refuah shalem b'karv that answers this beautifully. Aaron Levine told me that there is a rule, holchin kedivrei hamekel be'ovel. Frank Aaron Levine, Avelis is a Rabbanan, and Sovik Rabbanan is a kula. So why do I need a special allowance for Avelis that you go kedivrei hamekel? You always go kedivrei hamekel by the Rabbanan. Just use the standard universal rule of Sofek Rabban L'Chomer. So Rabbi Levine told me a beautiful Chiddush, and now I understand this Gemara because of it. Rabbi Levine told me that if you have 2 kulas and they're size to each other, it's impossible to both shitas are right. By a velis, you're allowed to go to kula even if it's attacked in the sashri. But by a regular Sofek Rabban, like in this case, if you want to go to kula in both ways, it would be a stira. It's either 1 day or 2 days. So you can't have an Eruv in 2 separate places and also have 1 Eruv for both days. It's contradictory. Whenever there'd be a possibility of having 2 stiradik akulas, even by a suffix to Rabbanon, you say suffix to Rabbanon l'chumra. But by a velus, even if it's 2 contradictory kulas, you still go kedivrei hamekel ba'ovel. So many years ago, when the Rabbi Levine told me this, I put it in my hard drive. And today, because of that shtickle, I have to thank him because now I understand this Gemara on Eruvin, that you don't say Sofik Terabanan Lakula when it's Tarti de Sasri. So thank you, Rabbi Levine. Anyway, Amuloi Rabbi Eliezer, Iyat Moida, Shein Marobim Betchila Miyom Tov Shabbos. What if you never made an Eruv for Friday and you only wanted to make the Eruv on Shabbos, right? You wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to go Friday afternoon on Yom Tov and place an Eruv Tchulin on Shabbos. Amal Naval, I agree to that. So Halai Kedusha Agasi. So wouldn't that prove that it's one Kedusha? It's a good riot? Rabbi Eliezer, no. It's not because it's one Kedusha that you cannot place an Eruv Friday afternoon. Hashim Mishum Achana. you're not allowed to be making Yom Tov Shabbos. Even for cooking, you have to make an Erev Tefillin. But normally, you cannot prepare for Yom Tov Shabbos, and that's why you're not allowed to place an Erev on Yom Tov Shabbos unless you've already placed that Erev before Yom Tov. If you actually walked Thursday afternoon to the place where you wanted to be Kodesh Shvisa, then it works for Friday. On Friday afternoon, if you want to be able to walk there on Shabbos, you have to be there Friday afternoon. If on Friday, on Yom Tov, the Erev got eaten up, and he cannot use that Erev Tchumen for Monday. Divrei Rebbe. This is the words of Rebbe, very important. Divrei Rebbe. So Rebbe holds clearly that it's one day. Rebbe holds clearly that it's one day. I'm sorry, the opposite. Rebbe holds clear that it's 2 days. Since it got eaten on the first day, you can't use it for the second day. So this is very important to remember from the base. Rebbe is stating quite clearly that each day is on its own. It's two separate Eruvin. Rabbi Yehuda says, Harezu Chamar Gamol. It's actually going to be a suffix. It's a suffix if it's 1 day or 2 days, and therefore we don't know where you were Kodesh Shvisa. Were you Kodesh Shvisa where your Erev is, or were you Kodesh Shvisa where you are? Since we don't know, therefore we have to take the area where these two Eruvin, where these two Mekaymis intersect, and you're only allowed to be in that area because we don't know if this is your area or that's your area. So you're only allowed to be in the place where you know you're in both areas. Another important shita. You don't have to. It's one. Both days is one big erev. So he argues on Rebbe, and they hold it's one big day, and it's one erev for both days. That's what Rabbi Shmuel says. So now let's just clarify because it's going to be relevant. Rebbe holds each day is separate. Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel say it's one big day. Zok the Gemara. Amarav halacha kidalid zkenim alalu. The halacha is like these four elders. Va'alibud Rabbi Eliezer, and it follows the shita of Rabbi Eliezer, who seems to say that it's two separate days, right? Rabbi Eliezer said you can make the erev here one day and there the other day. The Amar Beis Kedusha said, who are the four Zekanim that agree with Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shmuel ben Avrichem ben Bereika, Rabbi Eliezer ben Shimon, and Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda Stimsa, who's Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda is someone who Rabbi often quotes without mentioning his name because he makes him into a Stam Mishnah because Rabbi likes paskin. Rabbi wrote it Stam because he wants to show he paskin like that. There's others who say that we have the list of four wrong. Rather, Chadminai Rabbi Lazar is the fourth Zokin, and who does he replace? Umapik Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda Timsa. Now, Frank the Gemara, we just said that these four Zekanim hold Rabbi Eliezer that it's two separate days. Well, if you look back to our Brisa, what did Rabbi Shimon say? He said, Ir Baraglov, Barishon, Eimar Baraglov B'Sheni. Nechel Eruvin, Barishon, Yotzalav B'Sheni. So they're clearly saying that it's not 2 days. They're clearly saying that it's 1 day. So how could we include Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Shmuel in the list of those who say it's 2 days if they clearly say that it's one erev for both days? For Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan ben Bereika, Ibcha Sheminalu. So the more Epoch. Just switch. Don't say Erev Baragel Berisha and Ein Ma'ariv. Rather say Erev Baragel Berisha and Ma'ariv Baragel B'Sheni. So change the wording of what they said, which means now Rabbi Shmuel ben Nosho ben Bereika, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel are saying that it's two separate days, which is exactly what Rebbe said in the very same brayso a moment ago. So then now you're saying they say the same thing as Rebbe. So why would we bring down a third shita, and that third shita is just repeating what the first shita in the brayso is? So tomorrow aim of v'chein Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, change it to not Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, it's v'chein Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and it's not trying to bring a new shita. It's just saying that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel agrees to the shita of Rebbe. In fact, the Gemara, so in the list of Zekanim v'lechshav nami Rebbe also holds that it's two separate days. You need two Eruvin. So how come he wasn't in the list? Why didn't Rav say Aloha Chamisha Zekanim Halalu v'Reliv Rabbi Eliezer and include Rabbi in the list? So Gemara, Rebbe Tanila, Rebbe might have quoted that shita that it's two separate days and you need two separate Eruvin, but V'loy Savarla, he doesn't hold like it. Rebbe is just quoting from somebody else. fact, the more, if you want, you're going to say that. So maybe say the same thing about Reb Shimon ben Gamaliel. Rabbanan Nami maybe Tanula v'lo Shavrulah. So the more, you're right. It's possible. But it so happens to be that Rav Gemara Gomerla, Rav heard that from his Rebbe. That Rebbe only quoted others and didn't hold like that himself. But Reb Shimon Gamaliel held like that himself. So Rebbe himself would hold that it's one big day. But he was just quoting from other Tanaim that it's two Eruvin, one for Friday, one for Shabbos. Ki nach nachshid Rav Huna, when Rav Huna died, Ayel Rab Chisda lememra de Rav de Rav. He came to ask a kasha from Rav onto Rav. So Rav is paskening that it's two separate days, and he's asking a kasha that Rav, I'll show you where Rav holds it's one day. And I think let's stop over here and we'll be mamshech here tomorrow. So shkoyach haboisai. Thank you very much, and Mitchell will be mamshech tomorrow.
Shkoyach.